What up, brothers, and welcome back to my channel for another new review on a figure that's pretty much hot off the press. It got released in Hong Kong on Friday. It had shipped its way to my house for Monday morning, and I'm going to do the review today. I will also say it's going to be a special review because this will be the in-depth review where I will cover everything, my thoughts, I will score it up, I will go into detail as regards to how you swap the hands on and off, the articulation, the full probably 40-50 minute review that I would normally do. But on top of this, I'm going to do a completely new review, or new style review should I say. It will still include the scores, but it will be uploaded in segments. So each category will be a video on its own. It will be filmed on the iPhone 6 Plus, and it will include all different poses. So please watch both. I'm just doing this to work out if people would prefer to see the full length video straight through, or still see me all around thoughts but broke up into segments. So that's the reason I'm doing it. Plus it's Spider-Man, the more footage you can get, the more views you'll get, let's be honest. So I am doing that also. Move in and just show you the figure. I will say I've posed him like this because he's pretty much represents straight out of the box, but also to show that you can pose him where the suit is not rucked up anywhere, even on the boots. So I just wanted to make the point because a lot of the pictures I saw from Hong Kong did look good, but in a lot of them the boots looked quite baggy, or they were awkward looking trap sections of the outfit, and I just wanted to show that from the front the outfit does look clean. Let's just get him rotating up, and we'll do my thank yous now. As most of you will probably know, or anybody who even saw me last two videos, which were the unboxing of this figure and showing how it comes from Hong Kong to my house, and then the early articulation test video, which is basically I wanted to check that the figure were good. You know the problems I had with the first version of the Amazing Spider-Man. I pretty much broke it out of the box and then reviewed it with one damaged shoulder. Shortly after the review, the other shoulder went also, and then obviously all the drama that went behind that, we get in touch with Hot Toys and getting the figure replaced. They did do that, so credit to them. The second version of the Amazing Spider-Man 1 that came was fine, although I kept it probably 6 months and sold it. I never loved that figure. I will say the only Spider-Man I've got in my collection so far is this and the Sam Raimi blue and red version. I have had the black suit one, so I know what that one feels like, and got rid of it. And I have also had the Amazing Spider-Man from Medicom, which I did like, and I've also got rid of that. So if you're wanting a comparison, I will only be able to do it to the Spider-Man 3 version. And just move in, some footage of him turning, looking nice as the shadows change. So you can see a bit of tracksuit sort of here and here. That's because of how I've turned it, so it looks clean up front. So as I say, pretty easy pose straight out of the box. You see the box in the background. So, massive shout to Budget Start, or Anthony Sang, good friend of mine in Hong Kong. You know where you can get these figures from on release. I'm not telling you anything you don't know now. He's pretty much become a name in the community, go-to guy. Like I say, he's predominantly an Iron Man collector, but he can find you the stuff in Hong Kong if he doesn't mind. He doesn't mind searching if you don't mind paying the price. So yeah, massive shout out to that guy, and a massive shout out for the super fast shipping, because he put it in the post sort of Friday night, Saturday morning here, which was Saturday morning Hong Kong time, and it arrived here through customs and everything for Monday morning. So buzzing for that. Right, let's jump on and get some scores. Source material. Now, this is going to be a funny one, and I am going to score it like this. The film itself, and if I'm only taking the second part of the Amazing Spider-Man into account, the film itself I would have probably ranked a 3. I did enjoy it in general. I think they did try to cram a little bit too much love story and a little bit too much character introduction into a film, which made it feel very overcrowded and very choppy. But on the flip side, I think the action sequences were unreal. Pretty much had Spider-Man doing everything I wanted to do. It weren't just the random swinging. He were casting webs, and because you could see that he were in a rush or the pressure were building, I like the scenes where he's casting webs, but as the web's swinging, he's also climbing up the web. It makes you think of being on one of them really good Spider-Man video games. And I just think I think it was Mark Webb who directed it, could be wrong. I think his visualization of Spider-Man really matched what I wanted to see. So I did like that about it. The sort of twist at the end, or the tragic scene at the end, I think it were well done, although it were expected, I think. And I think the film also suffered a little bit from middle film syndrome, where it were pretty much just moving you on from part one, piecing you into the middle, kind of like a Two Towers feel from Lord of the Rings. You know you're not seeing the beginning, but you also know you're not going to be seeing the end. It led in quite nicely to the Sinister Six, which I believe is the next setup from the franchise, which I would look forward to because I think it's going to be an action-packed film. I just hope they don't try to cram another romance story in there. I don't need it. You know what I mean? If you wanted to watch that, we'd go and watch some fucking chick flick. It's a cartoon movie. We don't need to see his love interest constantly. I think it killed the franchise, the original franchise, the Sam Raimi version, a little bit, and I don't want it to do the same to this. I do prefer it to the Amazing Spider-Man 1, and I will say I do prefer the costume change. And mentioning that, when I take into account source material on Spider-Man, I know it is only from that, but I'm also in the back of my mind thinking, is this the Spider-Man we've all been waiting for? To me, I've got to say yes, because it's got the eye right as I see it, because I think it is a little bit taller than the first version. I don't think it's too bulky, but they've still gone back to the big eyes and the classic style suit. So to me, the representation of a Spider-Man, be it from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 or not, I think they have captured it in general with this figure. There is still little niggly nitpicks, but there is still things that they've improved also. So on the source material, I would have given it a 3 if I only taking the film into account, but I'm taking into the fact that it is Spider-Man. Most people would want a Spider-Man in the collection, whether they're Marvel collectors or not, because he's such a key character and such an icon of popular culture, that I am going to give a Spider-Man a 5 out of 5. Rolling onto the packaging, and as you can see as I move away, the artwork is really nice on the front. I think that is a really classic shot of Spider-Man, and I do really like it. I do like the texture and the use of the gloss or the embossed or whatever you want to call it, that it catches the light, as you can see, down the lines on the red section of his suit, all the way over the figure, and then the sort of the honeycomb effect on the blue. I do really like it because it allows you to check the accuracy of the suit or the figure that you've now got in hand. Really good shot. Move in. Like I say, really, really classic look. I'm not sure about the wording in the background because of how it's cut off. It's sort of, I can see there it says amazing, so this is Spider-Man. Don't know what that other wording behind him, what it signifies. I don't get that at all, but it is there, and it does make a really nice, clean looking box. Obviously down here you have got the company name and the movie masterpiece icon. As you notice from the first shot, it is the special edition from Hot Toys. Hot Toys have been pretty shrewd at the moment with releasing these sort of variants, or the special editions, or the twin packs, or the Robocop with his chair. They're doing that first because they know that it's going to be able to charge more, while the impatient people can't wait for the non-special edition or just a singular Robocop. They are doing that. They are a business at the end of the day, so do we commend them for it or do we slag them off for it? You decide. I will say, looking at the style of the box, again, it is very uniform to the Amazing Spider-Man 1 box in regards that it is just a shoebox, but because of the cutaway sections down the box, and sort of the twisted style lid, it is just a little, I don't know, a little bit something different. It's not a massive thing because it's only a lid on a box, so I'm not going to go mental about it. But I will say the texturing, when you feel it, it does feel nice, and I do really like the shot. I would normally give the packaging a shoebox style a 3 out of 5, but if the artwork excels, I would bump it up. That is the case with this one. I really do like the shot, and I do like the eye-catching nature. If that were a poster on your wall and it were framed, or it would be laminated or whatever, I think it would be quite eye-catching. So as far as the box goes, that is how I feel when I look at it. So I am going to give the packaging a 4 out of 5. I will also say it is in mint condition, and credit to Anthony for shipping that correctly and using the right amount of bubble wrap although a little bit too much sellotape. I will just say that because it's one of my fucking bugbears. But yeah, back to the review. So the packaging, like I've said, I am going to give it a 4 out of 5. Alright, moving on to his likeness. First, before I show you that, show you the pose. Got him on the dynamic stand, as you can see, that is included with his set. And just got the dynamic stand tipped up, so he's sort of propelled forward. So let's move in and talk about his likeness. First things that you would probably notice is the size of the eyes. They have enlarged them, and they have used the white or silvery looking lens, again with sort of honeycomb effect inside, and the really thick black surround. To me, that is classic. It is reminiscent of the old cartoons I used to watch. It is reminiscent of the preferred Spider-Man comics that I've read in the past, and I don't know, I just prefer it. I know there is different incarnations of Spider-Man where the eyes got slightly smaller or more slitty looking, but these, for me, just to my taste, these are the preferred eye styles. They came away from the piss yellow lens that they used on the Amazing Spider-Man 1, which were a good change for me because I never loved it. So the eyes for me are spot on. I really do like them. So I'm trying to get some detail, show you what sort of structure makes up the eyes. Yep. Next thing we'll say is the shape of the head. I've watched the film. I put the film on when I went to bed last night, and then I've watched a lot of the Spider-Man scenes since. I think the head shape is pretty good, and I said pretty good because from sort of there up, I think it's really accurate. I just think it lacks a little bit of definition on the sort of the corner sections of the jaw. The corner section of the jaw could be a little bit squarer, but I don't want to get all fucking anal and start getting me set square out and consulting Pythagoras and fucking everything else just to work out the shape of the head. It's good enough for me, although it's not 100% balls accurate. That is how I would say it. A few people picked up on the vagina style stitching or the stitching below his chin, which gives him the appearance of, you know, Fat Bastard when he loses weight on Austin Powers and he has that saggy neck, like fucking chicken neck. A lot of people said that the stitching on the suit made it look like that. I will say my lens is about 1.5 inches away from the figure, and you do notice the seam, but if you come back to where my eye is, which is about there, you don't notice it at all. So yeah, you could be right on the things that you're saying with the stitching underneath, but I think to get the mask flush to the head sculpt or the shape of the head inside, I think they have to do that. Also, I will mention, while we're talking seams, in some of the pictures, the bloggers' pictures from Hong Kong's, the stitching that goes down the centre of the head, it's same on all Spider-Man figures. It looked a little bit messy on some of the figures. Now again, you can see the line does sort of go out of shape a little bit. The seam is straight down that central web line, but again, that's from now about 1 inch away on an HD camera, so it's going to be noticeable. Again, from where my eye is, which now is somewhere there, you don't really notice it at all. And I will say the shape of the head is not hindered by the seam this time, because I don't feel that the mask is loose. I feel it's fitted to the head a lot tighter than the definitely than the Sam Raimi red and blue version. So I do like that also. I will also say, because it doesn't come with a Andrew Garfield head sculpt, then I'm sort of knocking a point off as regards to the likeness, because we are basically only seeing a masked face. So I know with Spider-Man you'd think, well, it's going to be hard to do to get the proportions right and everything. Like I said, I don't think it is 100% accurate, although it is the best representation I personally think so far, and that's mainly down to the eye size. I will also say, because the neck on this is part of the head, well, there's two sections inside the mask, the neck and then the head on a ball joint. I will say, when I stood it up last night, I thought, fucking hell, it looks a little bit giraffe-necked. I've watched the film, like I said, and he is very long-necked anyway, Andrew Garfield, so I think the proportions of him inside the suit are really, really well done on this, and I do like it. Again, I'll just mention that the webbing does look clean and well spaced out, and I think they've done a really good job in general. But like I said, because it doesn't include the Andrew Garfield sculpt, I can't give it the perfect 5 that I would have wanted to give it. So I am only going to knock it down 1 and give it a 4 out of 5. Show you the pose from as many angles as I can. Just leaping off, not cast a web yet, just about to take flight. Let's roll on and talk about his outfit. Right, rolling on to the outfit. And most figures, I think the likeness is the most important thing. With a Spider-Man, I think it's not so much the likeness. I think it is the outfit and the articulation. Because they've got to have it right, but it's also got to move and be unrestrictive and not feel like it's going to damage whenever you move it round. Now, if I move back and show you it, got it in pretty much an upright pose. So I wanted to show it when it's not too rucked up, which it would do if it were too extremely posed. And also brought in the Amazing the Spider-Man 3, the Sam Raimi version, just to show that although both suits use the classic design, the differences and the things that I think that have improved on the newer release. So let's talk outfit first. Like I've said, I mentioned on the likeness, the head shape and the mask design, the eye size I really like. I think the mask that goes down to the neck is pretty good, because if you dip the head right forward, it don't ruck up too much, which is there's sometimes a risk of happening. So it doesn't on this. You do see the divide between the neck and the chest. The head still does pop off, so I'm assuming that it would fit the Andrew Garfield sculpt, but I haven't got that, so I can't show you that. So yeah, I do like it. I will say as well, the sort of spacing between the webbing, although you can see I've got the head turned to his left and it does pull the neck round a little bit, the spacing in the webbing does match and go down onto the chest quite nicely. Looking at the Spider, they've used the same sort of technique as on this version, where it is the soft feeling supple rubber to make up the webbing and the Spider. Although I will say, and I hope I can show this, it is a lot finer and a lot more to scale on the newer one. I'm not saying it makes that one look bad, because I don't think it does. I still think that represents that movie really, really well. But I just think it's a little bit more delicate on this one and probably more to scale. I will just show as well, go back to Ed. The seam I was saying along top of Ed, it's not as noticeable on that one as it is on that one, because the seam ends somewhere near that webbing, so it always gives the sort of misshape on that piece of web. When the new one, you'll see that the webbing comes down the seam, so it sort of draws your eye away from it. And also, like I said, the oversized eyes on this one compared to the smaller eyes. Look how obvious the webbing is on the face of that one. Really thick webbing used on that one compared to the more delicate looking webbing on that one. So yeah, I will also say, and I hope I can show this, the red fabric underneath on this one and this one is pretty identical. I will say the honeycomb effect though on this one is a little bit more pronounced. If I move it around, catch the light, you'll probably see what I mean, than on this one, although it is still there underneath on this one also. Where it's different is, if we move down to the bluing sections, the blue section on this feels like the Amazing Spider-Man 1, the all-over feel of the Amazing Spider-Man 1. So it's like got a plasticky, rubbery style feel, and the honeycomb section on it and the sort of piping, which is a lot more faint on this one than it is on the Amazing Spider-Man 1, but you can sort of see it coming down the quadricep on front of his leg and then in sort of the groin area there. Like I said, it is textured, where this one is more when you touch it, there's no feel to it, although you can see that the honeycomb again is pressed into the fabric on that one. Moving down, I'll just show you the boots on this. The boots on this always felt a little bit loose, like socks, which were okay because you could position them. So when you got it posed, you could sort of move it into a position where you could sort of disguise the rucking up of the material. This one actually feels like a boot covered in material, and also the sculpt. Just move it around. The foot sculpt on this is better shape, more accurate looking, and I do prefer it again over the Amazing Spider-Man 1, where it pretty much got, they're like these, is it Essex trainers converted into a boot, so this one don't have it. I will also say the sort of belt section, if you like, on this one, when he's stood upright, does look a little bit low, but when he's positioned, because the suit is quite supple, you can bring it up, where this one, his belt is definitely up over his hip most of the time, so there is that also. Right, the most obvious improvement on this is the new style hands and what the new style hands means. Right, looking at that hand, if I hold this and I start to pull it, you'll notice nothing happens, because this is all one piece of cloth that goes up here. The hand peg is still in, or the wrist peg is still inside there, and then it's sort of glued to this metal section of hand. Well, I say it's metal, it feels like die-cast metal, the hand. Now if I pop this off, I might have to put a cut in here. Yeah, I'll pop my cut in. But just to show you what I'm talking about, on this one, you always got that happening when you're trying to pose it, the sleeve rooking up, and then you'd have to move it down and line it back up. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm lining the webbing up with the webbing on the hand. But you'd like bend his hand on this one and his sleeve would do that, and it were even worse still on the Amazing Spider-Man 1. This is pretty much sorted out because you don't see the wrist peg, although there is an active wrist peg in there that still moves around. Let me pop this section of hand off and you'll see why I mean. Right, so as you can see, definitely some kind of die-cast metal for the lower section of the hand, so the palm section, let's call it, which, like I say, is then glued to the suit, and the wrist peg is inside. And then each set of hands that you get, so this is the fist, fuck, I can't grip it, that is the fist, but it's only that big, because then there's a nipple or a indentation just under the thumb and under where the little finger goes, and then this magnet, and then they fit on to them sections there. So that is where you change the hands. It's definitely improved the outfit as regards to not pulling up on the thing. It's took them 4 attempts now, but they finally got it right, and I'm glad they have. I just hope that the wrist peg inside don't break, because then you've got a job on your hand getting it out. On this hand as well, because of how it's glued to the underside of the palm, when you rotate the hand, it takes this webbing round with it, which is a good idea. So if you move it to there, then you can see it will pull round, and then the web caster, which is again glued to the suit, moves round pretty much with it. So if you had him down, then the web caster would go underneath. It's still obviously movable, but because the seam runs along there, and then it is glued to the lower side of the palm there, if you were to try and move it all the way around, can you see I'm touching the hand, but it's bringing the web caster around. So again, a really good job and well executed. Like I said, the only downside is if the wrist peg were to break inside there, you've got a job on replacing it. But all in all, I think it's a definite improvement on every version that's gone before. To put them in order of how I like the suits, then I would say the Amazing Spider-Man 1 was the worst. And then this version of Spider-Man, I think the black suit version was an improvement, and then this one is an improvement still. Another thing I do like about this, and my Facebook friends will tell you, I've had this in some tight poses, and I put some pictures onto Facebook last night, really crunched down low, and then last night before I went to bed, I stood him back in an upright position, and all the crinkles in the suit went straight back out of them. So that is good also, because a lot of where the wrinkles would be sort of on the knees, where it would go baggy for a length of time, or on the elbows. It's shrunk back into position and gone back to the form of the body. I will say another thing, and I'm going to have to be a little bit unsightly here and show you this. Let me just lay it down. In the instructions, there's no warnings about articulation at all. I don't know if they've done that to plead ignorance or what, but it is more to do with how you fit the hands, how you put his spare clothing on, what not to do, and blah blah blah. Nothing really to do with articulation. It actually says in the instructions, don't remove the boot too aggressively. Now, I thought, does that mean you can remove the boot or don't remove the boot at all? It doesn't say that. It says don't remove the boot too roughly or aggressively. I will say though, and I don't know why, but this boot does come off, and it's just fit on like that, and then with a peg there. But on top of that, I've tried to pull on this boot as softly as that one, and that one won't come off. So I just don't know if it's a case that that one's glued on tighter and this one shouldn't have come off, or if they should come off, but this one just needs pulling a bit harder. Either way, I'm not going to take it off because I don't know why it does come off. I suppose if you were posing the leg and you wanted to tuck a little bit more cloth inside the divide between the boot and the leg, I suppose you could do that. But I found you don't really need to do that because you can sort of drag the netting down the foot and it brings out all the crinkles in the suit. So just something I wanted to point out. I don't know if it's supposed to do that, I don't know, but like I say, the instruction manual clearly says don't pull the boot off too aggressively. So I don't know. But I will say, while he's laid on his back in rather a nice position, that I am going to give the outfit I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 because all the improvements I wanted it to make, it has made, and they've gone back to the classic design, so it does look better also and is functional. So yeah, quite an easy 5 out of 5 for me. Rolling on to articulation. As we move up, we'll see he's in flight. Get a level with him. Like I said, this is one of the key categories for me on a Spider-Man figure, the articulation. If he doesn't articulate, he's worthless to me, because whereas something like a Superman, for example, would look cool like that, although it would also look cool in flight. Very, very hero pose, statuesque Superman, so that would fit him. And you can make him look dynamic just by posing his cape. With Spider-Man, he's pretty much a dude in a leotard and he's got to be able to move. I've stressed this point before. And also, it actually used to make me angry when I used to look at Sideshow Freaks and people would be posing him up and he'd constantly be in a museum pose. And I'm thinking, is it just a case that nobody's brave enough to pose him? Or is it a case that, I don't know, I don't know, is that how you like your poses? For me, not for Spider-Man. He's got to be showing movement. That is what the character's all about, and that is how I like him. So, does he articulate as well as I thought? Well, you saw the early articulation video. I tested him very lightly, and by that I mean I hardly budged his joints, his shoulders, his knees, or anything like that, because I just wanted to make sure I broke him in as carefully and I was fair to the figure as I could be. I did that, and even after filming that, I went back, checked the joints, tried to get a little bit more extreme with them. I took some photos, and I've got to say, and credit to Hot Toys, I don't know if it's a new body, although it feels very similar, I think that they have done a really good job here, because there's no creaking, there's no, oh shit, have I just broke that? You don't feel like that. It does feel pretty smooth and sturdy, although, again, when I'm rotating the arms, I am still holding the section inside there. Simply, that's just through experience. Now, it might never bust them, but I'm not giving it chance to. They would be the tightest joints on it still, so be careful. I can't stress that enough, because I don't want you to watch this review by yours and you said there were no problem with shoulders and mine's fucking broke straight away. Just be careful. I don't know if it were a case I just weren't careful enough with the first one, or if there were actually some defective ones. That's what I honestly feel, because there were few ones that it happened to. But on this one, luckily, I haven't broke anything. That is the honest truth, and I have been pretty extreme with the poses that I've been doing on camera and off. I will say as well with the articulation, when you move him, the suit does do rather natural things, like there, where you can see the shoulder muscle, the suit wraps around it really well. And then I've got this straightened out arm, swapped out the hands, There is obviously some ruck up there, but you can position the suit around the ab crunch sections to make it look a little bit cleaner. Up here, the sort of lines of the suit still go up over the arm. And like I said, his web casting and his casters have come round, and it looks really good. His legs are really nice and tight. The only hindrance, I suppose, with the articulation is the upper leg could do with coming up here a tiny bit more for an easy to get to crouched pose. There is a crouch pose you can do, and that'll probably be in the other videos. It is doable, but it takes some doing. So the upper leg is sort of the only hindrance, but everywhere else, legs, knees, ankles, the articulation is really good. Even the back tilt on the head is good because it's sort of the shape of the back of the neck going into the head. It allows you to see that it looks like a step when it's like that, but if you were to pose it, you can push that back really far, so it gives the appearance that it would be looking along his arm like that. So I do really like it. Definite improvements. I think Hot Toys have done a really good job with the articulation on this one. I'm not going to do a step-by-step articulation because that would pretty much kill the previous early articulation test video, and because it is basically just a slim true type underneath there, so you know where the articulation points are, so there really wouldn't be no value in me doing it. I just wanted to show that it would crunch up tight, and the pose I show you through the separate videos that I will put on my channel, you will see what the articulation will do anyway. So I hope that makes sense to you. The articulation, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. And before I move on from articulation, another point I nearly forgot to mention is there is toe articulation also. And according to the book, it will go to 45 degrees up and down. I will say though, it is a bit of a bitch to do, and it does cause a little bit of ruck up on the suit. But yeah, the articulation isn't the end of the toes as well, but it's a little bit stiff, so be careful with that. Rolling on to his extras. As you can see, he's wearing some, and he's got some laid out in front of him. I will remind you that this is the special edition, so it does include 2 extra items that the normal version won't bring. I'll point those out in a minute, but first let's get him rotating. Off he goes. So, as you see, the major parts of the extras that he brings is the sort of add-on outfit from the scene where he's sort of just concentrating on being Spider-Man, even at the drugstore while he's still badly, or while he is badly, and he goes out wearing the woolly hat, the scarf, the body warmer, and then the backpack. I'm not sure if he's wearing the backpack in that section, but the backpack's a nice inclusion because you could also use it on a Peter Parker custom. So I don't know if anybody would display the Spider-Man wearing this, but it is a nice option, and it also gives me something different to show you in the review. So I don't know, I'm never gonna look a gift horse in the mouth and say I can't believe they included them. It's shit. More extras the better for me. So as you see, the I don't know, turquoise coloured beanie hat, I suppose it is. It is wool. It is a bit of a bitch to get on because it's really, really tight fitting. And all the time I'm putting it on, I'm thinking, I hope this isn't rubbing on the webbing on his mask, because it won't be worth it if it were. Also, the scarf, you can just wrap the scarf around loosely, although I have knotted this one, so you can just drape down. It's a nice touch, but not in as good a scale as anybody who's got the new the exclusive version of the Jack of Spades. The scarf he came wearing is a lot better than this one. So it's, I don't know, a little bit thick feeling, let's just say, but again, nice touch. The orange coloured body warmer or gilet or windbreaker, whatever you want to call it, again, it does feel quilted, feels really nice, top quality. It does zip up if you choose to, but I haven't. It is lined, and the pockets on the front are fake, I do believe, so nice. Onto the backpack, the blue with the leather effect bottom, as you can see. pockets do work, the clip does work, and the straps are wired, so you could have those posed if you were holding the bag instead of having it on his shoulder, or you could nip it tight over his shoulder so the bag stays in the position you want. So again, nice inclusion. They didn't have to do it, but they've started thinking outside the box, so I do like that. Moving down, you get the webbing, only 4 strands, so it's sort of the, let's just call these two the short knockout blast, and then these would be the swinging webs. I always pose it as if he's swinging, but never include the webs. I don't know, I'm not feeling them, let's just say that. I will say as well, according to the instruction manual, these points of the webbing do fit into the casters. I'm not even going to try that, but the instruction manual says it's going to do it, so it should do it. As regards to hands, or fingers I suppose, that swap out, he has got the relaxed ones, and then moving down he's got the sort of the, I don't know, crouch pose hands, or the holding onto a wall hands. Really nice inclusion. I will come back to that though in a minute. I do like the fact that they put them hands in, because I think it's first time on a Spider-Man that he's had hands like that. The web casters, right and left. The hands for holding stuff, namely the bullhorn and the plutonium, those hands. The fists, so basically a set of knuckles and fingers, and then the hands for holding the webs. All well done, and do match the suit colour pretty nice. If you don't push the hands on correctly, sometimes it looks a little bit obvious, but they have tried to use the webbing lines to disguise where the join is. So, but the colour match is pretty good. I just hope that don't fade. Looking here, it's the bullhorn that he talks to Electro with. Again, nicely done. Very similar to the one that the 89 Joker brought. Well painted and everything. Don't know if I'd have him displayed with it, but it is nice that he brought it. The exclusive or special edition plutonium canister. Again, you could have him carrying it or whatever. It will fit into that hand, because that hand is quite pliable, so it will spread enough to hold that in. And the other exclusive item was the base cover, and it is a picture of Spider-Man's face. You can see the holes there. You basically just unscrew the dynamic pole, cover this base, tuck the edges down here, and away you go. So it is a nice touch. Like I said, the normal versions won't get that or that. It's not a massive thing, if I'm honest. The stand in general is really nice. I'm glad they have included a dynamic stand, because it does help your pose options. So a good array of extras. I am going to mention the other thing. The inclusion of that hand has meant that they don't include them hands. I still like them hands, and those hands aren't close enough to that, so I wish they'd also put that hand in as well, but they never. That's what I wanted to mention on the hands. The manual, I am going to show you, because, like I mentioned before, the first points are, it says, we don't recommend you take the head off. Well, if they don't recommend it, why can they make it so they take it off? Now, that will come off, because I've tried it, and the connection looks like it's going to fit the Andrew Maguire heads. Fucking Andrew Maguire, what the fuck am I on about? The Andrew Garfield fucking head sculpt. It would fit it, I know it would. But it says if you take it off, you might ruin the web alignment. That could be right. Don't excessively rub and twist the outfit, because of the rubberized sections. It says that. It says that the hands will move freely. The wrist can be rotated freely in multiple directions, which it can. Like I said, there is still an hand peg inside. Don't detach the upper palm, so don't pop the upper palm off the wrist peg, because you're going to pull it off the suit then. So that's what it tells you. Here it shows you how to swap out the hands. I've pretty much explained that to you. It does show you here that the web will fit into the caster. I'll take that for as read. The foot articulation for the ankles and the toes. And here it says, don't detach the boots with excessive force. Otherwise the suit alignment, you might shift the suit alignment. Now, like I said, I don't even know why the boot can come off. It doesn't say don't remove the boot. It says don't be too rough doing it. So I don't know if there's a reason the boot comes off. But like I said, on mine, one does, one doesn't. I don't understand it. And then here it just shows you how to swap out the outfit, which is pretty much anybody who knows Hot Toys will know that anyway. I will say the instruction manual is a little bit non-committal. And by that I mean it doesn't say to you, only move the shoulders to this degree, only move the elbow to this degree. It's pretty much not covered it. So if somebody opened it and broke it, I don't know where Hot Toys would stand on that, because there is nothing in the instruction manual that says it. So I just wanted to point that out, and that's been quite a lengthy covering of the extras category. I am going to tell you that for me it's only missing the head sculpt and possibly a few more, like another set of hands. I can't get the top points, but I am going to give it a 4 out of 5 for extras. Rolling on to the value section, and I'll also sum it up here. Right, it's probably no surprise, I bought this figure from Hong Kong via Budget Stark, or Anthony Sang, however you refer to him. He's done me a great job. He always lets me know when the figures of interest come out, simply because he's got a list at his house of the figures that I told him about 3 or 4 months ago that I'd be interested in seeing. I tell him what I want the day of release, what I'd be interested to see depending on price, and so on and so forth. So he knows to get in touch. He got in touch with me early Friday morning. Rick, Spider-Man's out. I'm like, what's the price? He says, I'm not sure at the moment because I've not got to the store, I'm not contacting anybody, but I'm thinking it's going to be X amount. And I'm like, no, that's too much. I want it. I told you I wanted it day release, but I can't afford that. He came back to me and he's like, well, I've asked around and this is the best price I can get it from, which brought it in line with sort of the early eBay sellers. But I go to Anthony because of loyalty and because I ain't got to mess about trying to message somebody back and forth. I can get on WhatsApp, I can talk to him, do a vocal recording and sort it out like that. And that's why I use him. And also because he's a good friend and he's never done me wrong yet. So, saying that, the price I paid for this figure is not worth, and I won't bullshit you and try and tell you it. I buy from Hong Kong because I need it for my reviewing figures. That's the honest truth for it. People call me a media whore. I don't get two fucks. I buy the figures, it comes out of my earnings, and I want the viewing figures, and in turn that leads to AdSense money, which makes me recoup the money that I spend that's too much. If you're not a reviewer and you're just a collector and you want this figure, then I would probably advise wait. That's the honest truth for it, because if you can get it in the UK or in your local US stores, you're going to pay a lot less than I did and some of the other guys who got it on first release. But if you want an awesome Spider-Man, it is definitely an awesome Spider-Man and well worth getting, I will say that. If you think I paid about £140, then you're bullshitting your son and you're bullshitting me, because I never paid anywhere near. I paid a lot more. The price I paid, I can only give the value a 2 out of a possible 5, but I'll say it like this. If you do pick it up for £146, like the UK prices, you can give yourself a 5 out of 5 for value, because I think the figure is definitely worth that and is the Spider-Man to have. If you're paying the price I paid and upwards, then the honest truth is it's not worth that. But like I said, I'm impatient, I knew it right and I wanted it. So like I said, on the figure you see in front of you, I've given it a 2 out of 5 for value, but I knew that going in. When the price was given to me, I decided to take it. But I will say it does look fucking beautiful, and you can all see that now. My job basically is just to say, look, this figure is out, it's available, you can get it, but it's going to cost you this. This is what I'm saying. If you want to talk prices, talk to the man who can, Anthony. Don't talk to me. Overall, it scored 28 out of a possible 35, which is a really good score. I think it is the Spider-Man to have. The last one let me down big style and I fucking hated it. This one, as it stands today, and it's only the second day I've had it, I am loving it. And if I were to sell this or the Spider-Man 3, then Spider-Man 3 would be going. So that shows my thoughts. Look out for the fragmented video that's coming soon. It will be the same scores, but the polls will be all different. So for now, this is Spidey and Uncle Clipper, and we're out of here.